Well, Daniel, thank you so much for being here today. And congratulations again on the success of UiPath. It's truly an inspirational story. Just before we dive into the story of the company, tell us a bit more about your personal journey from communism to coding and entrepreneurship. That sounds the opposite of boring. So tell us a bit more about your life.
Thank you, Philippe. And first of all, it is a great pleasure to be here with you and Carl. I have the honor to call both of you friends. And this is one of my highest achievements, I'd say. In terms of my path, my first passion was more like liberal arts. I dreamt of becoming a writer. And that was a bit supported in communist Romania. I was almost 18 when the communists fell in Romania. And until then, we had like only 2 hours of television a day. And of these 2 hours, mostly were about the progress of communism and our, great dictator. So it wasn't so much fun. So most of my time I spent, playing football outside and reading. But, everybody in communist country should become an engineer. That was the only kind of decent profession that you can aspire to have. So everybody was into learning math, science, and I found the math quite easy for me. It was mostly like solving a puzzle. So it was natural to go to the university and study math. And I also have chosen to study computer science. But it was mostly, I didn't know anything about. I didn't have a computer back then when I was in high school or anything. But I just thought that it was a fancy term. And I might say that it was not the best student out there. I was very disappointed by the school system and in a country that just arrived in a form of very wild democracy. So I spent most of my time learning bridge. So I've become a bridge player, and I was pretty good. I was even for a while playing like professional tournaments. But I had an interesting moment. I think my story is really a series of seminal moments, really good timing. Without them, it would have not been possible. But most of them are, part of the channel. So I met a friend from college, and we chatted. It was not the best friend, we just know each other. So we chatted, and this guy told me he got the job as a programmer. And I have asked him, so how much money do you make? And he said like $300 a month. And I was shocked, but how much was it at that time? Because I used to live like $30 a month. So I said to myself, well, this is something great. I shall start, really making an advantage of the university, I'm thinking. And that summer, I borrowed a book in C++ programming, and it was like, Xerox book. It was not the real book because I didn't have the money. Other people didn't have the money to buy, such a big book. And I was reading that book more like, out of passion, without having a computer together. My first computer I got when I was almost 30, when I moved to US, but I'll get to that. So I read this book, and end of the summer I went for an interview, and to my surprise, the guy just hired. And so it was just a simple discussion. Then I was into firms. I finished my college only because my mom insisted to finish my. Otherwise, I had no intention to finish. But I made a pleasure to her, and it helped me because when it was about to go to US, Microsoft made me a job offer, and the only way was to get to using an H-1B visa. Without having a college degree, you cannot get an H-1B visa. So it was, another part of my luck. I went to work for Microsoft. I worked for 5 years between like 2000 and 2005. Was never, I was never happy. Not because of technology, or because of many factors. Climate, maybe it was a cultural shock for me to go from, the crazy Bucharest into the very well ordered northwest of US. And, at some point I made the decision I shall start my own thing, try to do something, and I moved back to Romania. Which is, in 2005, Romania was not even part of European Union. So it was kind of it was a very stupid decision. I hated it for the next 10 years because I gave up a peaceful life, good salary, to just live day by day with the uncertainty, with having to pay salaries, with not feeling that you are progressing. I was lucky to hire few people that stayed with me for as long as even today. And we were building technology, but we were not able to sell it. We knew that there is something good there. The worst thing is to just see you make enough to not die. This is really worse than dying. But after that, like 2015, when we finally got our market, we had product market fit, everything changed. This is why I guess I'm here today.
Hi, Daniel. It's great to be with you and Philippe here today. Thank you for having me. Daniel, we often think of startups as overnight successes, but I think we also know there's a lot more to the story. Can you share with us any crucible moments or pivots early that really changed the course of UiPath and the journey you're on today?
Yeah, so it's been a lot during these 10 years that I mentioned before. First of all, I bootstrapped the company using doing consulting work, and that takes a lot of your time. But I always dreamt of building a product. So the first product that we built was a very simple tool that would allow you to just, long click on every word that you see on your computer screen, and then we'll go to offer a pop-up to search on Google or search the definition or something like this. It was neat and simple, but of course it was a flop from marketing standpoint. I didn't know anything about marketing. It was my first foray into Google AdWords. How should I write? And it's a big lesson to me, and maybe for some other entrepreneurs. I thought so much about the product, a long list of features, and I couldn't understand how can I fit my product that I love and that I'm passionate about in like 3 sentences each, like 30 characters. But it was the first big lesson that you have to be able to focus, synthesize. So anyway, the product was a flop, but we were lucky to get the attention of a small software firm from United States that saw the product and understand the power of our technology behind the scene. The technology that was able to look at the computer screen and detect all the words on the computer, 100% accuracy, position, and everything. And they use it to build an early integration between some banking systems. And funny story. They asked me, we want a license, and I thought, how much can I ask? And I asked them $10,000 for it was like an unlimited license or anything. And I was surprised that next day they basically wired the money without any negotiation. From the former product, we made like $200 all in its entire life. So I said, wow, we have to pivot and we have to go and build this library behind the scene. So that was we switched to an OEM model. So we built for like 5-6 years this computer vision library that allows, other software to really see the computer screen and interact with it. And we built and built, but it was a lifestyle business. I think we were making like 200,000 per year or something similar. We were like 5 people. It was not something that you like. I was in a position where I felt I'm ruining my career. I'm ruining other people's life. We are just pursuing a stupid dream. It's never gonna work. And we also built a nice tool that is now called UiPath Studio that allows, more of a business user to basically code an integration between systems using our computer vision technology. And again, no success. But we had a company based out of India, a BPO company that came to us saying, guys, we would like to explore more with your tool. So I went into a discussion with them and they asked me something, how do you compare with Blue Prism? I said, I don't know who Blue Prism are. Let me search on the internet. So it was the first time when I discovered the name of one of our biggest competitor. I didn't know anything about this space. So again, we were focusing on building technology, but without understanding the customer pain. And that was the moment when we understood this is a big market. That first customer helped us to understand better the market. We start to build a product, and I think we started a very accelerated journey. That was around October 2013. If we missed a year or two and continue, on our path without understanding the market, we were toasted today. We would have been just a small player acquired by someone like Microsoft or whatever. I'm sure about it. So that was essential. This timing was essential. So, that I think that's the best answer to your question. That moment was the most seminal moment that I can ever imagine about the birth of this company.
Thank you, Daniel.
Well, from there, I mean, the company had, an incredible growth. And one thing that I found really remarkable in the UiPath journey was really your ability, Daniel, to do things that a lot of people think are not doable. I remember in 2017, right after Accel invested in the Series A, we talked about the budget for the coming year, and you wanted to expand at the same time in Europe, US, India, and Japan. I mean, many companies find it very hard just to go from Europe to the US, and you wanted to expand globally at the same time. So tell us, Daniel, what made you think at the time that this was possible, and how did you make this happen?
I think it helped that we've built this technology in a small country without a local market. We never sold on our local market, so we always sold across the world. So I was not really afraid of talking with people in different cultures. I really entertained it. And, we knew at that point that we are number 3 in the market. And I also know, from many lessons from history that, number 1 takes the lion's share, always. So to me, I felt the market is big enough. And so the market, we were really in a pull market, sucking, all the companies there without doing anything. We had so many inbound requests we couldn't even count. I think we left on the table really many great companies. We didn't have enough processing power, enough people to be able to deal with them. So at that moment, I know that this is our chance to get in front of the competition. And then I never wanted to build a mediocre, an average company. I said, this is, we've been through a lot of hardship, 10 years, this is our moment. We are not just gonna settle for a few millions and call it a day. We will build a great company. And I knew that in order to build this great company, we need to get certain velocity. And it was a big bet, because we know that a bet like this is going on the opposite direction, the company is toasted. You get no funding, you burn money, everything is done. But if the bet is correct, then you win in a big market. And our bet was correct 2 years in a row. And the third year was not quite a success because in 19, trying to replicate it, we faced, of a saturation in the market. So the market was more of a push market than a pull market. But we had enough investment and we have enough, rigor to be able to succeed and pass through bad times.
Thanks for sharing that, Daniel. Let's shift gears just slightly. You mentioned the word culture earlier. And one of the things that, we were always impressed with about you, specifically, Daniel, was your leadership and your maniacal focus on culture. In fact, I can't remember a board meeting where you didn't spend a significant amount of your time talking about the culture of the company and the continued evolution of that culture as you've gotten bigger. Can you tell us a little bit about the culture you've created at UiPath and how your own leadership style has had to change as the company scaled to maintain what is, I would describe, a very strong culture?
Well, I am reflecting on the importance of culture for companies like for a long time. Even since I built the first company in 2005, my first desire was to build a company where I would like to work for myself as an employee, not necessarily as a founder. And it helped. Back then, when I came to Romania, it was no company in Romania that I wished to work for. And with this, and initially, startups don't have a culture. A company that has 10, 20 people, make fool of themselves calling what they have a culture. What they have, it's a group of friends that go to a bar together. That group doesn't necessarily have a culture. They enjoy being together. But as you scale, you need to start to crystallize who you are, what makes you successful, what makes the cohesion of this group. And we went first to trying to define our culture. We studied Netflix slides, which is an important work, from Silicon Valley on culture. We tried to incorporate ideas there, to build a meritocracy, we started to define us in a way. And when you go to this exercise, what are our values or behaviors or whatever that we want to define us, people come with many things. Like we have an open culture from the beginning. We are very transparent, very direct. We pressure honesty. And you will end up with the long list. And it was a moment when I had an inspiration to say, hey, let's define our culture by one single value. If we have to pick one, what is our most important value? And, again, upon reflection, I am thinking of my own way and my own development. And thinking of our competitors that were always, they were considered arrogant even by our customers. I realized that maybe even for a company, but also for a human being, the highest achievement is humility. So that was the moment when it was really the starting of defining our culture, putting humility in the center of our culture. And this is a very powerful concept. Humility gives you the power to listen to others, the power to change your opinion. It makes you be unbiased, make yourself more like a judge. And I think, to answer your question about my leadership style, this is one of the things that I am always looking for. How can I be more, I want to always be unbiased. I want to always have the best idea win. So that's the power of humility. But again, I don't want you to understand that we are humble people because that's against being humble. To me, humility is the framework of mind. If you are able to use it in your decision making, in your communication process, that helps you becoming better. So humility is an aspiration, it's a framework, it helps you really decision making process, behavior to others, and you should always be aware. It's also like a muscle. You have to always train. It's not like I talk once, okay, we are all humble at the end of the culture. This is a continuous journey. It never stops.
Well, thanks, Daniel. Very interesting to see how the culture really helped a lot the company in the way they approach this thing. I see that the timer is off, so just maybe one last question to close the panel before we open it up to the audience. If you had one single piece of advice to give to the young founder in the audience who are aspiring to be what you are, what would that advice be?
I think be perseverant. Don't stop. And if you have a safety parachute, don't use it. To me, the biggest advantage, but also the biggest source of pain, was that I didn't have a golden parachute. I didn't have anything, so I just had to go and continue. But perseverance, in my opinion, is the most important quality.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Carl.